Hello yogis, namaste. My name is Yeli Staley and I am a bilingual yoga teacher. I teach English and Spanish, Vinyasa yoga and meditation. Today I just want to take advantage of this beautiful setup here in the Sunshine State, Florida, to go and cover with you the foundations of the Virabhadrasana family. I want to give you the tools of a good alignment. Every time we come into your yoga, you go into your yoga practice, I want you to have a basic understanding on what to do with your body every time we practice Virabhadrasana A, B, and C, or also known as Virabhadrasana 1, 2, or 3, or Warrior 1, Warrior 2, and Warrior 3. These are three very basic but very important postures or asanas during our yoga practice. And in order for us to really enjoy the benefits that these wonderful poses can offer to our body and our nerve system and our spirit and our breath, I want you to have a better understanding of how exactly the location of your feet and your pelvis and how to activate your legs and your core and all the wonderful full engaged body awareness and engagements to allow you to feel a little bit more empowered on your Virabhadrasanas family. So we're going to go ahead and I want to first, before we go into the different ways that you can practice these poses, I'm going to give you the foundations, very basic ways that you can get into the pose, and then I'm going to offer variations because I know sometimes some people are injured and recovering from injuries, or they just simply don't have enough strength yet to do certain things on their own. So I'm going to give you very basic variations. Just want to make sure you understand that alignment is not a blueprint that is about one size fits all. It's a blueprint for us to use as a way for us to explore our bodies. So if any of the cues that I will be sharing with you shortly does not feel good in your body, it's very important that you feel free to modify and adjust the distance of your feet, adjust the distance of your hands, adjust any variation that you can feel empowered yet challenged during the poses, okay? With that being said, let's go ahead and start with Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Ideally, you're going to keep the feet as wide as your hips. And what we're going to do, I'm going to start with my right side. What we're going to do with the distance of your feet as wide as your hips, we're going to bring the right foot back. Just bring it back. Back enough that you still can place the heel in the ground. I want you to point both toes forward first, and I want you to have a very strong foundation and understanding of what it takes from the ground up to feel strong in this position. So what I want you to focus is bring some weight into the inside of your feet. Make sure that big toe is heavy. I want you to lift your kneecaps so you're engaging your quadriceps, so your legs are strong. The front foot is pushing the mat farther away, or maybe bring that foot to push the mat towards you. That's going to engage the leg a little bit more. Same thing with the back foot. So you have to play with pressing the feet away from each other and pressing the feet towards each other to feel that engagement of the legs, and then push the foot against the floor to anchor you so you can lift your body a little stronger. Once we're here, we're going to bend that front knee. And so the front knee is going to be bent until you find your ankle. We want to stack the knee on top of your ankle or your heel. We don't want that knee to pass, and sometimes you can modify and keep the knee behind the ankle. But the alignment, the ideal foundation is to keep that knee on top of the heel. So that's going to create a little bit more of engagement of your quadriceps and maybe even your glute. The back foot, now the back foot, we're going to open the toes, so now both toes are pointing towards the front of your mat. The back toes are going to open 45-degree angle out to the side with the heel in. So 45-degree angle out to the side with my heels in. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to practice exactly this position and play with the distance of your feet. Sometimes some students feel comfortable in a short distance, especially if your balance is not your best friend today. Some students' balance is not an issue or a challenge, I should say. you can walk the back foot a little bit way back out there. It's gonna feel a little bit more of a stretch of the inner thigh, okay? So I'm gonna do it on the other side so you can take a look at how it looks on the other side. So we are having the feet as wide as your hips. We're gonna bring the right foot all the way back enough that you can plant your heel down. I'm going to bend my front knee right on top of my heel, and then I'm gonna bring my back heel in on my toes, 45-degree angle out. I know there is this difference on some teachers and schools on yoga where the back toes are open 90-degree angle out to the side, and as you bend the front knee out to the side. Personally, it does not feel good on my knees because we are externally rotating these hips, and this hip is forward. So as you come into Warrior One, which I haven't get there yet, but the chest is pointing forward. So pretty much from the waist up, the chest is going to be pointing towards the front of your mat. Just by doing this movement, I already feel my knee a little kind of funny in there, and I don't want to torque my knee, right? So in order to be a little bit more harmonious with the posture, it's very important that we keep those toes 45-degree angle in or out. I should say 45-degree angles out. That's going to give my knee a little bit more in the same dimension or direction where the rest of my hips are trying to go. As you bend the front knee, make sure you spread the toes really wide, same thing in the back. It's very important that you hit the outer edge of your back foot. Plant that heel and make sure that back knee it's not bending. So you have to lift the kneecap and really lift the thigh towards the back, okay? So that's the foundation when it comes to your feet and your legs. Now we are going to start moving up, and we're going to talk about the hips. The tendency here with the hips is to lean forward. Okay, so we sag in the front hips. The hips are tilting forward, which makes the spine and the rest of the torso to go forward. So when you come into reaching the arms up, it feels a little bit funny on my lower back. My lower back doesn't feel supported. In fact, I feel like I'm doing some sort of back bend here. I'm flaring out my ribs, and it's just not a very sustainable way to do Warrior One. With time, doing things like this, I'm not using my strength. I'm more relying on my flexibility, and maybe with times my joints are going to be overused. So what I want to do here is bring your hands into your hip bones, and we're going to lift the hip bones up. So that's going to create a little bit more stability on the pelvis. By doing so, you're going to feel a little bit more stretch on the right hip flexors as you press the thigh back, and as you rebend that front knee. Now I can feel what's the purpose of this pose, which is stretching the hip flexors, opening the hips, strengthening my inner thighs, and really feel the strength of my legs. Now that we have the feet and the legs covered and the pelvis neutral, now we're gonna focus on the chest. Where does the chest or the shoulder should point, right? So because the back foot, it's open out to the side with 45-degree angles with the toes out, it is almost near impossible for us to have hip squares in Warrior One. Anatomically, it's impossible without torquing the knee or doing something that doesn't feel right on the body. Because the hips is open 45-degree angle out to the side, we have to finish that rotation from the ribs up. So I always tell my students, bring your hands and grab your rib cage and rotate the rib cage. Notice that my hips is open. I'm not moving my hips forward. My hips is open. I'm just gonna rotate my rib cage forward. And then I'm gonna bring my navel in to protect my lower back. And now I don't have the arching of the lower back. I'm using the strength of my core as I reach the arms up. So this is Warrior One versus bagging the back knee, 90 degrees of the back toe, bending the knee, trying to square my hips, and then tilting the pelvis forward. So you can see a difference from this type of Warrior One and this type of Warrior One, which I'm going to bring my foot 45-degree angle in. I'm going to stretch, strengthen my back leg. I'm going to level my pelvis, activate my core, and then finish that rotation from the rib cage and the shoulders to find my warrior one. So I hope that makes sense. It's very important that you pay attention to that front knee not passing the ankle, because we put a lot of pressure on the knee joints, and the knee joints is a very, very complex ecosystem. So you want to make sure you protect that. So that's warrior one. Warrior two, same foundation of your feet, your legs, your pelvis. The only difference is going to be where the chest and the hands are going to be. So I'm going to practice on the left side. We're going to start exactly like warrior one, feet as wide as your hips. We're going to extend the left foot back this time. We're going to anchor that foot down so I feel the stretch in my back calf as I plant my heel down. I'm activating a little bit of strength on the inside of my front foot, so the weight is not all the way onto the outside. Some people tend to, like myself, bring some weight onto the outer edges of your feet. So when you come into balancing poses, you got to be mindful of the equal distribution of your weight. So maybe bringing some weight into the inside, planting that big toe, planting the center of your heel, it might help you to lift your arch a little bit on your feet. And then you lift the kneecaps, legs are engaged, back toes open 45-degree angle, heels in. I'm going to rebend my front knee until I find my heel. Then I'm going to neutralize my pelvis. Now warrior one, remember, we were doing that rotation with the hands up. And warrior two is the opposite. Same foundation. We're going to grab our hands around the rib cage and we're going to open the rib cage to the wider side of our mat. Notice the tendencies in here. One, when we rotate the chest to the wider side of your mat, that front knee wants to come with it. They want to join the party. They are not invited to the party. So front knee, it's a little bit open and externally rotation towards the right side of the corner of your mat. Okay? Same thing with the hips here. The hips tends to collapse like I'm doing right now. I'm gonna find my hip bones. I'm gonna lift, neutralize my pelvis. I'm gonna feel it more in here. And as I externally rotate my front knee a little bit towards the right corner of my mat, I'm gonna activate and feel more of stretch of the inner thigh. So this is my foundation on my warrior two. I finish that rotation from the chest, and I'm going to extend the arms out to the side and look over to the front hand. Both shoulders are relaxing down. I'm going to try to bring the shoulder blades a little bit towards each other to activate my upper back. And I'm going to relax my face, my eyes, and just kind of imagine you're planting your hands on top of a table, so you're actually activating your shoulders. Warrior two, Virabhadrasana B, or or Virabhadrasana 2. So I'm going to do that on the other side. So right there where you are, what we can do is just flip our feet. So front foot is going to bend until you find the heel. Back foot is going to be open a little bit wider, keeping the toes 45-degree angle out, stabilizing my pelvis, grabbing my rib cage, completely rotation, and extending the arms out to the side. So I can see that both sides, I'm showing you my front. I'm gonna do the opposite side so you can see what it looks like on the back. So I'm planting my foundation with my feet, my legs. I'm gonna stabilize my pelvis in here. I'm gonna finish that rotation from the rib cage. And I'm gonna extend the arms out to the side, and I'm gonna look over to the front. Fingers soften my shoulders, bringing the shoulder blades back and down, activation of the core, and I found my warrior two. Warrior two. And warrior one is rotation of the chest as you reach the arms up, keeping the belly fully engaged. So that's 2/3 of today's class. How are you guys doing so far? Wonderful. Warrior three, guys. Warrior three is one of the most challenging poses that I see as a teacher in my classes with my students. And I will tell you why. It is challenging because we all have what is called the group gluteus muscles and the outer hips are a part of the body that is not very strong. And because it's not strong, we don't know how to activate these muscles in our body. So Warrior 3 is a good way to start strengthening that part of our body. It is complicated or a little bit challenging because we have the tendency to rotate the hips in Warrior 3. Warrior 3 is the only warrior that actually the hips are square. Just think about it like that. Warrior 1 and Warrior 2, your hips cannot be square. Why? Because the back foot is 45-degree angle open. So the hip is open. The only way you square is from the waist up, okay? Warrior 3 is the only warrior where your hips are actually square. And because of that, the tendency is the opposite. And that's why I have this chair in here. But if you are at home and if you have a wall nearby, you can absolutely take your hands against the wall and use it as a wonderful support, which I will explain later how you can use the wall. But if you want to play with the chair, I'll show you how to do it. You can also have some blocks. So for Warrior 3, I'm going to show you lots of variation, because the other part of Warrior 3, besides keeping the hip squares, which are very challenging, is because it's a balancing pose. We are putting all our weight in one foot. So if your balance is kind of not your best friend yet, this is a reason why it can be challenging, and that's where the chair and the blocks are going to come handy to help you become friend with your balance. I'm going to do it first with blocks, baby steps. Let's break this down. I'm going to grab 2 blocks, 1 for each hand, and I'm going to place them right under my shoulders. I'm going to keep my feet as wide as the hips, and I'm going to tilt my pelvis forward to help that forward fold a little bit deeper. It's going to be a deep stretch of the back hamstrings, so if the hamstrings are not your best friend yet in the stretch, bend the knees, always modify. So I'm going to pretend my hamstrings are super tight, and I'm going to pretend my balance is not my best friend, because I want to start baby step. Everyone can do Warrior 3. Here, I want to keep my core engaged so we're not sagging and arching your lower back. Our feet, toes spread out, bringing some weight into the heels. Distribution of the weight here is very important. And then from here, we're going to bend both knees a little bit deeper, and we're going to plant the hands into the block. We're going to lengthen the spine, crown of the head towards the front of the room. And I'm going to shift my weight into the left foot. I'm going to hover the right foot back, and I'm going to extend and plant the toes into the floor. And the reason I like to plant or tuck my toes behind me first is to help me to close my hips. So here I am. My hips are square. This is a perfectly way to do Warrior 3, guys. If you want to challenge here, you can hover that leg just a little bit. Remember not to sag on these hips. Bring that hip towards the midline as you lengthen your spine and use your heel. Activate those quadriceps in here to keep that back leg really lengthened. So this is a modified Warrior 3. Knee bend of the standing leg and back leg fully extended. We engage the core to protect the spine, and we continue to lengthen, softening the shoulders, relaxing your face. Warrior 3. Okay, that's one way to get into it. If you want to do one block because you are a little bit more advanced in your balance, both hands in one block. This time I'm not going to bend my knees. We're going to keep the legs straight. I'm going to start shifting that weight into the left foot. As I'm going to reach back, plant the toes, square the hips, and then I'm going to reach that leg back. Now if you have blocks in here, you can start playing with just one hand. Continue to stay steady and breathe in here, and then relax. Chair. Grab a chair, use the back. It's going to help you here. So instead of the blocks all the way down here, we're now lifting the chest, and we're going to try to do an L shape. An L shape between my hands, my chest, my spine, my hips. And I'm going to grab here, so it's a deep shoulder stretch here, so that's what I kind of like, the chair version of this. I'm gonna try to keep my head in between my arms, so my head is not too lifted, not too sagging down, right in between my arms. So my neck, which is my cervical spine, it's in alignment with the rest. Maybe I should put, I don't know if this looks like an L shape, but let's pretend it does in case it doesn't. Scoop the belly here, shift the weight towards the left foot, bend the right knee, walk it back, plant the toes so you can square your hips, and then reach that back leg. Find your warrior three here, feel it, breathe in, square, square, square. What happens is we tend to open the hip and we sag into this. So this group of muscle on the left side of your glutes are not working, we're sagging in here. So in order to avoid that sagging and actually build strength, we have to hug the outer hips and rotate the right hip down, and these hips hug it in. One more breath in here. And then exhale, release. Nicely done, guys. If you are near a wall, then it's easier too. You have two options if you have a wall. You plant your hands on your wall, you find your L shape. I'm gonna do the left side, so I'm gonna bring my weight into the right foot. We're gonna find the wall, reaching, lengthening, standing, and then I'm gonna walk my left foot back, and then I'm gonna reach. This is my wall. If the wall is behind you, then you can bring the hands into your thigh and press the heel into the wall. What we're trying to do here, guys, is a T shape. So I don't know if this looks like, it's kind of hard, but I'm trying to use my body awareness, my chest, my legs, trying to do as much as I can a T shape. And that's it. So that's warrior three. That's why it is so challenging. That extended leg that is supporting your weight, you have to lift the kneecap, you have to engage the quadriceps, you got to engage the hips in order to find your stability. So I hope this helps. I'm gonna go over very quick about the position of your feet. I was mentioning that your feet can be as wide as your hips as you bring one foot forward and one backwards. For some people, that doesn't feel good on their hips. And it all depends on your body structure, your constitution. So if keeping the feet as wide as your hip, it doesn't feel good on the hips, please widen your stand. So you can either walk the front foot a little bit out to the side. That will create a little bit more space to breathe for the hips. And then the rotation of the chest, do as much as you can, but then finish that rotation from the shoulders. Finish that rotation from the shoulders and just breathe in there. The options with your hands, you can keep them on your hips as you help your hips to stay balanced. You can keep them in the center of your heart. You can keep them separated. But if you are doing the hands separated, make sure you're reaching through the elbows so you're not bending the elbows. You're trying your best to reach through the elbows to bring the fingertips forward. Keep your hands active. Imagine you're hogging a block in between your hands. Or the traditional version, you touch your palms and really squeeze those palms and reach those arms up to help you activate this part of the body. All the upper body, the shoulders, and all that interesting way to develop strength on your upper body as you do the warriors. What other variation I wanted to talk to you was warrior three. The more advanced, the more you practice, there is endless, infinite options to do warrior three. Warrior three, part of, like I was explaining before, you can keep both hands into your chest to help you find that balance. You can extend the arms out to the side like an airplane. You can reach the hands forward, which is going to challenge your weight and maybe bring in the gaze forward even more to challenge your balance. I say challenge your weight, I meant to say challenge your balance. So as you can see, are very basic foundational poses, but when done with mindfulness and understanding on how the body should be allocated, it takes that foundation a little bit more into another level of complexity. So it's always nice to explore, to practice, to a point that you feel comfortable, to a point where you know that you can find your empowerment in these poses with no rushing. So my advice, my homework to you, and I hope you do it, is practice each of these poses and stay on that pose on each side for at least 5 full breaths. And I mean 5 full meaningful breaths. A 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale. That's going to give you enough time to start developing that muscle memory and start getting your body into these new poses, so the next time you do them in any yoga class, it's going to be like riding a bicycle for you. If you guys have any questions, please, by all means, comment here on my YouTube video or send me an email, or you can contact me on any of my social media channels like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. That's all for today, guys. So I really hope you find this useful. And if you have any suggestions for what you would like to learn next, feel free to let me know, as I'm here for you and I'm here to spread the knowledge from my experience and my trainings. Thank you so much for joining, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Namaste, have a great day.